What's up, guys? Today I am going to open up a figure that I have been waiting on forever. Literally forever. For as long as I can remember collecting comic books, as far back as I can remember watching Xena the Warrior Princess, as far back as I remember the first discovery of barbarians and everything that they are, I have wanted solid barbarian characters for the shelf. And for years and years I didn't collect until this Motu craze hit me. But with all of that, I still have yet to put two figures on my shelf that deserve it, that are absolutely important to the collection. I still need a Conan the Barbarian. One that I really like, one that really speaks to me. But I may have found the perfect Red Sonja. And it's right here. And here's hoping, because Red Sonja is something that I've wanted on the shelf for years. And here she is. So, Red Sonja. Red Sonja on the shelf, finally, after all these years. So many years ago, I discovered this character. And it opened up an entire world for me that I was unaware of. There are other parts to the story, of course, and I've covered them many times in many different videos. Talked about my time with Conan the Barbarian. I talked about how He-Man and everything affected me in general. I talked about Xena the Warrior Princess and why it was that Red Sonja had the impact that it did, and how I discovered her in the first place, and how she opened up an entire world of barbarian culture and things like that, or barbarian pop culture. And it never died on me. But funny enough, throughout the years, I've never put a Red Sonja statue or anything like that anywhere on the shelf. I just never did. I don't know why. And part of it could very well be that over the years, I have gone out of my way to do the standard. And to do things that cost less money. And that's the truth of it. Less money is very much a thing that kept stuff like this off the shelf. Because, see, for less money, I could easily put a Wonder Woman on the shelf. It met the certain criteria and everything, and it worked really well. And, hey, Wonder Woman is still one of my all-time favorite heroes ever, if not my current all-time favorite superhero. And then, I mean, I put Batman's on the shelf, and Superman, and I bought Gunpla, and Star Trek, of course, was a big thing. But these are all figures that are easily affordable. You look at things like Playmates, and you can literally find them still in the packaging for $4 a piece at a convention. I mean, Batman's and things like that run roughly anywhere from $20 to $30. Simple stuff. That stocks the shelves very quickly. It looks very cool, and for the most part, you don't have to worry about breaking the bank to do it. And now, with all of this stuff, I've got Conan the Barbarian-esque type characters that are sitting on the shelf, and they only cost me anywhere from, like I said, anywhere from $20 to $30 a piece, somewhere in there, depending on exactly what it is, and maybe sometimes you could go all the way up into $40 or something like that, depending on what you're going for. But then I finally tested the waters. There was a Golden Axe set of toys that came out, and they were expensive. And I knew that if I was going to invest in them, it was going to cost real money. But I did. I put my money down, and I got three of them, actually. And I already covered them on the channel and everything like that. And as far as I'm concerned, they were fantastic. And then, after testing the water and finally putting real money on figures, like the kind of money where you buy one figure and that's your entire toy budget, you're not touching anything else, $80, $130, something like that. These are not the average cannon fodder figures that you stock your shelf with. This isn't a Marvel Legends. You get the idea? I'm not dogging Marvel Legends. I'm saying that there's a reason so many people collect Marvel Legends. It's cheap and you can get a lot of it. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. It makes perfect sense. There's a reason that we shop that way, especially people that are on a budget. But then, a little while ago, a long while ago actually now, well, it feels like it was a year ago, there was an announcement that there was going to be a Red Sonja figure. I believe her name is Chaos, and a Vampirella. And they're all from this company that did this. I believe this is called Executive Replicas, or Loose. It's also from a company called Loose Collector. And I've never bought from them before. I don't know anything about their build quality. I don't know if this is going to be a fantastic investment or what did I just do. I don't know yet. But this sucker is basically everything said and done once it's shipped to you. It's a $90 figure. Is it worth it? I don't know yet. But we're about to. All right, here we are. Here's the box. Red Sonja. It's got a good window here. I also like the fact it's got the Red Sonja up here and it's got the figure down here. Not the figure, you understand, the actual artwork representation down there. Solid, looks good. I like the window. You can see the figure in there and she's looking good in terms of first visual view, just kind of looking in there. Not mad yet, definitely for sure. The side art is solid. I like that right there. That's not bad at all. This side art right here is from, all of this, by the way, is from different art styles of Red Sonja, which I actually have to appreciate quite a bit. That's from a different art style of Red Sonja. That's from a different art style of Red Sonja. So we're really seeing some of the lineage here in the box itself, which is solid. That's a completely different art style of Red Sonja. Very solid, very cool. Outlaw, mercenary, warrior, and queen. After escaping her bloody origin, she hunted the wildlands of Hicarnia. I can't even talk right now. Harkania. I believe. Now I've never had to say this out loud, and I've never heard it pronounced, but I believe it's Hicarnia. Or something like that. I don't know if you actually say the R. I would be interested to actually hear that said. I'm not 100% sure. See, I've read comic books, and I've read books, and those are in print, and they're not spoken aloud, and I've never actually watched that Red Sonja movie, so I would be interested to hear that word said out loud. I bet you I've said it wrong my entire life, but that's still regardless of the fact. Thieved the streets, palaces of Padisha, sold her swords on the battlefield. This is all going over stuff about her. She's a sellsword in general, and that's basically how she makes her living. Red Sonja slew the king who tried to possess her and freed the world from a dark sorcery, the dark sorcery of Colin Gath, which this might be Gaith. I've always wondered if it's Gath or Gaith. I'm not 100% sure how you're supposed to say that. But I have read an awful lot of books. He's a reoccurring villain for her, and it's a pretty cool one, to be fair. And just kind of like how also Conan deals with a lot of sorcery and stuff like that. So that's par for the course for a lot of this stuff in general. Forced to flee her homeland, she rode west across the Turanian steeps and into the shadowed mists of legendary. Pretty cool. Once again, a different art style here on the other side. The bottom, it's just this. Some people seem to really want to see that. I don't know why. And then, of course, up here, just the logo. And that's the entire box. I probably could have read that better, but you know me. Here, I just put it down and I wing it. And sometimes that's the reason you get me going. I don't like to stage anything here. I very much like first impressions so that you're seeing exactly how I feel about the box in general and things like that. I don't like to stage any of my first impressions. I like them to be first. Speaking in which, first, let's see. If I had to pick a favorite, it might be this artwork right here. See, here's the thing. When it comes to Red Sonja, barbarian characters in general, I like them to have... of course, I like them to be a certain way. They have to show a lot of skin. That is a barbarian trope. I mean that for the men and the women. I don't necessarily like armored He-Man. I don't necessarily like armored Conan. I like them to be more skin. I like to see the skin because I think it adds to the whole extremeness of the barbarian thing, the visceral nature of what it is, and that every moment, every movement means something. It's a feeling that I get from it. It's an expression. It's part of the fantasy in general, is to trust your skills so wholeheartedly. It is. There's a very big difference between Captain America when he punches an enemy, or the Black Widow when she punches an enemy, as opposed to when Red Sonja punches an enemy, or Conan's giant naked man punch. That is a visceral thing that is seen, especially in black and white prints. I also think that can sometimes help the attitude of these comics. But I like her to have muscles. I think that's actually important for the character in general. I don't think that she should just... Not that I dislike this at all, but while this is definitely appealing in one kind of way, I don't think it's as appealing as actually seeing when they put all this tone on her body and actually put the tone in. And I think the arms should be a little bigger. I prefer there to be actual muscle definition throughout the body. I think that's actually important. But I think we've procrastinated enough. Let's see her. All right, so right off the bat, here we go. This looks like the kind of coffin that I like, the plastic coffin that I like. As far as I could tell, there are no tabs. If you're going to go through the trouble of making the plastic coffin, it should always, 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 always be like this. Put all the pieces in here, close a top over it. I don't have to worry about cutting a bunch of stuff off and things like that, and that's perfect. This should just lift off, and then we put it to the side, and then everything should be accessible just like that. So, the sword. Let's get a good look at that real quick. That is a fantastic sword. There's a lot of detail here in the sword in general, which I'm really liking. I really, really like this. I think that's done exceptionally well. I like that the little engraving and whatnot. And there's even an engraving in the hilt part, in the bottom of the handle right here. If I can get that to focus in, that's really good too. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but it's really solid. Fantastic sword, A+ right off the bat, 100%. Let's check out the axe. Now the axe is about the same level of detail. It very much is painted very well. It's rustic, but it's battle hardened, it's battle used. I like that. The paint app on this is fantastic. The mold is absolutely superior. That is a fantastic weapon. Absolutely fantastic. That's been blocking with. You've blocked with that, you've hit with that. That's fantastic. That's very used. I very much like it. Looks like she comes with 2 daggers. And these are very much also aggressive, used daggers with fantastic finish on them. I really, really like that. I think that's absolutely wonderful. We, of course, have different hands. So we're looking at 2 grip hands here, as far as I can tell. Yep. Here's 2 grip hands. I'll see if I can show them to you. There they are. That's them. Not bad. The glove detail looks really solid. It all looks like actual material. It's got a lot of little details here in the sculpt, which I like. We also have 2, I'll call them action hands. That's the best way that I can describe them. Let me get this again here. So we have the both sides of the hand. There we go. These action hands right here, this is where the hands are open and they're good for posing and things like that. Very solid. That's all the pieces. Now, just lift her out. You see that? You see how easy that was? That is the way that it should always be if you're going to go through if you're going to go through making this thing. That's the way it should always be. I shouldn't have to cut these characters out of the thing. And there she is. Now, we're probably going to play a little bit here, making her stand. Ooh, okay, that's got a nice rotation there. Quite a bit of rotation, but that feels like it's fighting me a little bit, and I don't want to push on it. Maybe she needs to go through some heating, kind of loosen her up and everything. Let's check that real quick. How we got that knee. She can kick herself in the butt. She is capable of butt kicking her own butt. That is fantastic. That's very good movement. We got that nice upper torso area. This is all uncut, so there's no area in here that actually moves. Looks like she can go pretty far down with that, and she can go pretty far back, and it doesn't feel like it breaks anywhere in a way that would hurt any movement. As far as I can tell, it seems to be really solid in the way that she moves. She doesn't have elbow. She doesn't have the double elbow, which is a little worrisome, but we'll see. It might not be that big of a deal. The the wrist goes that way and that way. So maybe that's a little bit of a problem, but before we go any further, let me see something. Here's the sword hand. The sword hand goes that way and that way. That's good. That's good. That means that when holding the sword, she's going to be able to point it straight out, move it up, do it down, do it all the way up. That's great. That means there's a difference in the wrists, and that's really solid. So these, the pose hands, are going to go in and out. And the sword hands are going to go up and down. And you know what? That's good. I'm glad that that seems to be almost becoming a standard for characters like this, because they need to have full control of the sword, their blade in general. That makes a lot of sense. That's the way that it should be. The other wrist, of course, goes all the way up. The other elbow, I'm sorry. But if this is a deal breaker for you, keep that in mind. We're looking at somebody that, you know, you can put your dukes up or whatever. Okay, little problem, small problem. Say you're going to take on this this fighting thing right here, right? Bring the hands in and everything, which is fine. She can very much take that pose. There's nothing stopping her from taking that pose, right? There she is. But you might have a little bit of problem with, I'm noticing there's no, oh, there we go, this. So she can move her arms in, okay? So we got a bend, right? We got a thing right here. And yeah, that's very well hidden, by the way, too. I didn't even notice that she could do that until I started messing with her. And this is actually a lot of movement. She can straight up turn all the way around. That's actually a lot of movement. That's really good. So that means with the knees and the arms being able to move in the way they want, we can't go all the way up and like touch her shoulder or whatever. But we're not missing enough movement for me to cry about anything. And the detail is extraordinary. I mean, it really is. The head goes way down. That is fantastic. That is a lot of movement in the head. I'm actually really impressed that it has that much movement downward like that. Very impressive. And then it, of course, looks up, and you got to kind of move her back to really look up to see something above her. She can look to her left. She has to turn her body a little bit. She can look to her right. She has to turn her body a little bit. The hair is very fantastic. That is an absolute fantastic hair sculpt in general. And it allows for some, because it's so frayed out, it does allow her to have a lot of dynamic movement in her head. She even has the head tilt and the head tilt, which is fantastic for a figure like this. You definitely expect it. But normally, female characters, their hair gets in the way. That's a very normal thing. And I am experiencing the boot problem, but like I said, I'm gonna have to. I want to put the ankles in hot water and pop them a bit so I can get them to move, because I don't want to force it there. Like it moved there. So you seen that? That kind of broke it out. That's good, but I don't want to break the ankle off. And that one is, it feels stuck, and I'm not going to force it. I'm not about to lose something that I just paid freaking $90 for. So this is all fantastic. The coloring is great. Who did they give her a bottom? But ow! Her leg can't go back very far, but it can go up, and looks like she can side kick you straight up. Bow! So her movement is fantastic. She's got a lot of pose in her and everything. These are a type of, they're a loose or rather flimsy plastic, and that's good. I don't know what you'd call it, but the material doesn't restrict and doesn't get in the way, and it moves. It is, however, not. It is a plastic material, so this right here, it's always going to be pointing a little bit to that direction. This is always going to be straight down. You can't create like a dynamic thing where if you want her to kind of like jump back or whatever, like this, and then have this kind of flow in, you can't like push it and like make it stay or whatever, which that would be a really cool effect. But we're not going to get that with her, but still, look at that. Look at that right there. Just right off the cusp. Just a quick battle stance. And can I actually get her to balance like that? Because if I can, that's impressive. And I think I can if I mess with her a little bit. I think that's a rough stance. Put that arm, put that like this, turn her body. I gotta create like a balance. I can't do it. Oh, got it. Yep. There, I got it. Look at that. I actually got that stance to work in real time right there. That stance right there, I just got to work. That's cool. That's fantastic. So she does have balance points. You have to play around to find them. And like I said, right now I've only got one ankle that's moving up and down. I don't want to force this one. Like I keep bending it a little bit and it makes me uncomfortable. I'm definitely going to run it underwater and whatnot. Yeah, there's a nice divide right here that I see. There's no bend here. There's no bend. It's all unbroken, but that's her. Wow, that's fantastic. Now, however, I've got to see her next to a couple of figures. There we go. This figure line claims to be, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1/6 scale, which means she should scale absolutely perfectly with Storm Collectibles. That's Tyra's Flare. Tyra's Flare seems to be a little bit bigger than Red Sonja, but hey, maybe she's a little bit bigger than Red Sonja. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I feel like this looks right. If I put them in scale with each other and stand them next to each other, she looks like she could easily go on the shelf with these people. That's my favorite Masterverse He-Man. Of course, we've talked about this. I did an entire list about it. And of course, He-Man, as a gigantic man, should be bigger than Red Sonja. He should be wider than Red Sonja. He should be taller than Red Sonja. And he very much is. But she doesn't look off in terms of her scaling. If I put her in front of him like that, that looks about right. I don't have a problem with that. And if she's standing in front of Tyra's Flare, that also doesn't look bad to me. I feel like she scales pretty well with these people. That's good. That means that she'll fit on my Barbarian shelf fantastically. No problem. I'm not going to lose anything with that scale at all. I'm actually very happy with it. Let's see about the new 52 Wonder Woman. Let's put her over here. Yep, that scales nicely. The new 52 Wonder Woman, which is a pretty old Wonder Woman figure by this point. But regardless, there she is. What about if a Power Ranger was to get up in this action here? Yeah, you know what? This is the Legacy Collection, if I'm not mistaken. It's not the Lightning. This is the old Legacy Collection one from the Rangers. He seems to scale nice. You know what? The scale is really, really good. I am impressed as far as that goes. And that also means that because of the things that I've just scaled her with, she will also scale pretty well, if not perfectly for that matter, with McFarlane figures. There's a McFarlane Batman figure. Oh my God. You gotta, if there's one thing I really detest about the McFarlane line, it is that, on a personal note, they don't move well. They're basically posable statues, is the best way I can put it. They don't pose well. They kind of get in the way of themselves. But as you can see, the scale that McFarlane has chosen for much of the DC stuff seems to go pretty well in 1/6 and seems to scale pretty well with He-Man. Now, He-Man figures, they claim to be 1/6. They're relatively 7 inches tall or something like that. Somewhere in that ballpark. In fact, let me reach back here, and I've never done this on the show, but let's go ahead and get an idea, because if I'm not mistaken, yeah, He-Man is 7 inches. Tyrus Flair is about 7 inches. Sonja is a little under the 7-inch mark, but remember what I said, maybe she's small. There's nothing wrong with that. The scale would work for the idea that some characters are a little bit smaller, some characters are a little bit bigger. That works for me. That makes it a living, breathing world. I know that most toys like to reuse body frames. That's very true for something like that, especially for something like Masterverse. Almost everybody's going to be about 3 inches wide, and just about everybody is going to be about 7 inches tall. And the reason is because they're reusing this body mold for like 50 different guys. But with her being relatively 7 inches tall also, and her being just a little bit under 7 inches, that's actually fine with me, because it makes me feel like the world building of my shelf is a little more realistic. Now comes the hard question. So, I now have Red Sonja added to my shelf. It looks like a fantastic figure. It looks like the paint app and everything is really nice. It feels solid, by the way. Probably could have used more wash in the hair, if I'm being honest. It's not terrible by any means, but the color of the skin and everything seems very well done. And I didn't really zoom in on the face. That maybe I can get her right now that I'm thinking about it, because the face is actually quite solid as well. So let's get a focus in on the face. There she is. The face is very good, actually. And that's something that I personally talk about all the time. I like there to be a very good face on my figures. I don't like continual reuse of faces, like when I can blatantly tell that face is pretty much just a standard female face or something like that. Is she worth it? Is she worth the $80? I could complain about certain things on this figure, and I would probably be justified in doing so. But I'm looking around. The color and paint app seems absolutely solid. The metal, the bikini and whatnot is absolutely solid. These parts are absolutely solid. I like that it's metal color. Like it's got that gleam, but it's not. It's metal paint, which for this character I think is better than if they would have done vac metal. I wouldn't have liked vac metal, in all honesty. So I think that is fantastic. I think the face is fantastic. I think the kind of face they gave us, because we only get one face. It's not swappable heads. We don't get a whole bunch of different parts like that. But the face that we get, absolutely fantastic. It just has that look about it that's really, really solid. Is that about right in terms of the bust for Red Sonja? The bust, I mean, if we're gonna critique, yes, her things are plenty big get off it. That butt is a little bit, that's a little bit too much. That's a little bit ridiculous. But then again, McFarlane isn't exactly above that himself when he produces the, what was it, the Arkham City Catwoman. Oh my God. Like, you have to give her all that back there, McFarlane. But is it worth it? We justify the things that we buy. That's the truth. The truth of the matter is it worth it to you? Is it worth it to me? These are different questions. These are different answers. One, she's rare. This is not a normal thing that you're going to come across. You don't come across Red Sonja every day. In fact, if you go looking for Red Sonja action figures, you'll find customs. But in terms of, there are statues and whatnot. But I don't know if I've ever come across an official Red Sonja action figure like that. I just don't think I've ever seen it. And so the rarity, I'm not saying that there hasn't been one. I'm saying that I personally have never come across it. And that puts it on a rarity scale. I've come across Xena action figures at conventions. I've come across Red Sonja statues, not a figure. That's a figure. That's rare. That's a lot of engineering. That's a lot of moving pieces. That takes the cost up. Rarity takes the cost up. Posability takes the cost up. Amount of parts takes the cost up. Weapons and paint app and things like that take the cost up. And so if you're asking me, do I feel like I wasted money here? Do I feel like I could have got a better deal? No. I would tell you that from where I'm standing, I paid, I don't think, if you would have told me it was like $130, I wouldn't have paid that. $80, I think, hit a sweet spot for me where I was like, that's a lot, but I don't have one. I do want one. I do have it. It's going to take the entirety of my toy budget for an entire month, but that's a good month. You know what? I love it. I have just added Red Sonja to the shelf. She's a keeper. As far as I'm concerned, she's worth it. Now, the next question would be, do I extend that worthiness to a Vampirella? Do I extend it even further to just get all three characters of the line and get Chaos, I believe her name is? I don't know anything about her. I have a comic book that I've yet to read, which is called like Red Sonja and Chaos or something like that. And so I think I know the character, but I haven't read the book yet. I do have all of it though. But I have no association with her, so I don't know. That's a different question altogether. Do I extend that worth itness to go get those? I don't know. There's a possibility of the Vampirella. After seeing the quality of the character, that makes me okay with the Vampirella concept, because it is a character that does hold a part of my personal nostalgia, because that was how I was introduced to things like Wizard, and that's when I was introduced to more adult comic books, and I saw that there was this entire other world beyond the superheroes. And so that kind of stuff right there kind of feeds into a probability that I would get at least that for the shelf. In terms of Chaos, I don't know. I really don't. I would have to have some sort of justification for it, and I don't know that I have that. But I was curious. I don't know if you were curious. Now I know. That's a solid Red Sonja, and I finally have a Red Sonja on the shelf. What I want now, a dream character, would be if they did something like this for Xena the Warrior Princess. You tell me you got a Xena figure, I'll pay $100 for it. Promise me that quality, game over. Anyways, Red Sonja, add it to the shelf. I'm gonna get out of here.
I have spoken. Take what you will from it.